the silent collapse. At first it seemed harmless. Hours spent scrolling, liking, commenting, everyone was doing it. Social media wasn't just a distraction, it was the way to exist. People would wake up with their phones in hand, check notifications, and drift into an endless loop, flipping from one post to the next. It was easier than thinking, easier than living. Food became an afterthought. People stopped cooking, stopped caring about what went into their bodies. They ate whatever was quickest: chips, microwave dinners, sugary snacks, everything delivered to their door with a tap on their screen. Nutrients were replaced with empty calories and bodies began to weaken. But it didn't matter, no one had the energy or the desire to care. At first, it was subtle. The headaches, the tiredness, the sinking feeling in the pit of your stomach when you realized you'd been scrolling for hours, days, weeks. People tried to snap out of it, but it was like trying to break free from a dream that you couldn't wake up from. And the more they scrolled, the worse it got. The algorithms fed them more drama, more chaos, more things that made their minds buzz and their hearts race. They became addicted to the distractions, addicted to the dopamine hits, until the thought of anything real, exercise, human connection, leaving the house, became unbearable. Depression crept in like a cold fog. At first, it was just a few people here and there, feeling like they were sinking, their thoughts heavier, their hearts slower. But soon it spread. It wasn't just sadness anymore. It was numbness, an emptiness so deep it felt like their very souls were being drained. And then they stopped moving. It wasn't immediate. People didn't just drop dead. No, it was quieter than that. Their bodies atrophied slowly, imperceptibly. The bones weakened, muscles faded, but they kept scrolling. Their eyes grew vacant, their smiles faded, but they couldn't pull themselves away from the screen. The world outside became irrelevant. The streets went quiet. The towns emptied. More and more people locked themselves away, sinking deeper into their own minds, trapped in their screens as their bodies rotted in place. One day, the first body was found. A woman, hunched over, still holding her phone, her fingers frozen in place. The screen was still lit, her last notification unread. She hadn't even noticed her body wasting away. Her skin had turned grey, the flesh hanging loosely from her bones. But her phone was still in her hand, her eyes still open, fixed on the last thing she'd scrolled past. A photo of a vacation she would never take, of people she would never meet. Her heart had stopped, but her mind hadn't noticed. And that's when it hit. People didn't die. They deteriorated slowly, insidiously. Their hearts still beat, their lungs still moved, but they were no longer alive. They were trapped in a waking death, incapable of anything but scrolling, liking, commenting, consuming. The government tried to intervene, but the damage had been done. The hospitals were overrun with people who couldn't move, couldn't talk, couldn't remember how to care. They were alive, yes, but they were the living dead. And it wasn't just the adults. Children too became hollow shells. They sat in front of screens from the moment they could walk, their minds warped by the endless feed of meaningless content. They didn't learn, they didn't grow, they just stayed. Their bodies were alive, but their souls were gone. The screens became the only thing that mattered. When the power grid went down, people started to panic. Without the connection, they couldn't function. They didn't know how to exist without the constant flow of digital noise. Their screens became their god, their escape, their prison. But there was no escape. No one spoke anymore. No one moved. The streets were filled with empty houses, filled with people who hadn't left their rooms in months, even years, their bodies decaying in place. The screens had consumed them, and they had become nothing more than husks, breathing but not alive. And when the last of the screens went dark, there was nothing left but silence. Except for the faint hum of a distant notification that no one would ever see. Like and subscribe, comment your topics, and I will create stories.